3. You're listening to the Heroes Power presented by BlizzPro.com. Your host, Balrog fan, Zexorus, and DJ Tyrant. Hello everyone and welcome to the Heroes Power Hour. We are a Heroes of the Storm podcast brought to you by BlizzPro.com. Happy 4th of July everyone catching us live. Thanks to everyone for spending a little bit of your 4th with us. We're excited to be talking about Heroes this week, and I'm glad to finally be back in the show. It's been a little while. It was a combination of a bunch of different things. I was at E3 and then I started a new job that flew me out to Denver, and then I had family in town, so that is all past, and I'm able to come back and host the show. So it's been too long away, and I've missed you guys. How have you guys been doing?
Welcome back, Jimmy. Yeah, it's been good. We've been soldiering on without you,
for sure.
But it's been an interesting few weeks, a lot of changes. HGC still rolling strong. We had the Faye interview while you were gone, I believe.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a lot of stuff happened. It was good times. We've been playing quite a bit, too. I'll just say my week in games was... we played a bit of Heroes here and there when we could. Saturday I was having a bad gaming day until I got to pick Uther. Which, go figure. But
the Uther is your jam, man.
Yeah, I really like playing him. He feels like he's definitely my best hero now. So anytime I get the chance to.
Yeah.
Throw it over to Willie though.
Yeah, Zexers, how has your week in gaming been? You're muted, bud.
No, I'm not. I'm just messing with you.
Oh my goodness.
Welcome back, Jimmy.
Thank you.
It's been all right, actually. I know I played Heroes. I just don't remember it. Like, I legitimately don't. I know I played it for a fact. I just really don't remember anything about my Heroes experience this week. It's been more the playing Final Fantasy 14 PvP and trying to figure out how to fit myself into Jimmy's camera.
I'm fixing it right now.
And just a lot of boring stuff. The Steam sales are going on, so I've just bought a bunch of games I'll probably never end up playing. I did get to play some Boss Monsters with Charlie. If you've never played that, it's an old card game that got ported over to Steam, and it's actually a lot of fun. It's a great time waster. You should try it.
Nice.
Yeah, we had some bad ideas in our heads. I know we played with Bacon from another podcast, and we ended up having some fun with that. Oh, we played Cho'Gall.
Yeah, you did a lot of Cho'Gall, and it hurt my soul.
Yeah, I remember that. And I started feeling really bad because we were playing Cho'Gall, because you were getting, I thought I was going to have to call 911. You were getting so sad over it.
I mean, Heroes is a frustrating game sometimes. It's a great game, but there are moments where everything about that game just rubs you the wrong way.
I'm glad to see you reinstalled the game, though, Charlie.
I never actually uninstalled. I only threatened to uninstall and quit. So we haven't gotten there quite yet.
Yeah.
Right.
P Flame G, how has your week in games been?
Well, I went back home this weekend, visit my wife. Brought my desktop because we're going to go down there for a 4-day weekend. And then Saturday early afternoon, the internet cut out. So I was like, well, this is a great thing to bring my desktop down for. So I just watched a whole lot of TV. And that's kind of been my last 4 days. I don't remember what I did before that. So
that's your how your life has gone since the internet went out. Oh my goodness. As for myself, I've actually been playing quite a bit of Heroes. old friend of the show, old host Twiz. I've been playing a lot with him and his group of friends. We've been playing Team League, and I've been shot calling, and this is going to jinx me, but I'm 6-0 so far in Team League placements.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
That's impressive.
yeah.
Hey,
so I was pretty happy with
congrats on your inevitable placement of 3 ranks below where you started.
that. Exactly.
When you go 10-0.
Yeah.
In before 6 and 4.
Yeah, exactly. But
5 and 5.
They take one
yeah,
away.
they take one away. But besides all that, I've been playing a lot of the Brawl this week, the pool party with the Stitches.
Yeah.
It has been really fun, and I have to commend Blizzard for what they've been doing with that, and that's probably one of the better brawls that they've had in a while.
That's still up, right?
It's still up till Thursday at least. I
Right.
I have a feeling they might extend it another week because of the reception that they've had with it. So they did that with one other one. I can't remember which one specifically, but they have done this before where they just tacked on another week too.
They've
One of
done
those.
they've done it a few times.
Mhm.
I haven't gotten to play it yet, so I'll have
I
to do that.
I think the first one we noticed was Mage Wars, but I know they extended Hammer Time by an extra week on
Mhm.
I think it's by accident. I don't think they meant to do that. I think somebody hit the wrong button.
That's definitely
Yeah.
possible. But yeah, that's been my week as far as Heroes goes, and it's been good. I've been enjoying the game. I've been playing mostly Warrior lately, which is totally different from what I've been used to be playing, and it's been a lot of fun. Johanna and Anubrak seem to be where I do well, so it's been a lot of fun. But let's talk about the news for this week. There's been quite a bit of news that came out. We did get the announcement of Stukov as the next hero for Heroes of the Storm, and he's going to be a support hero of all things. I don't think that was expected for this hero, but that is what's going to be. PTR came out yesterday with some changes as well. We're going to go over some of those. The PTR patch goes live July 10th, so next Monday. And I think really what people were looking forward to, or at least really hoping for, it was this rework of Hanamura. And I know we all have a lot of thoughts on this, but they went ahead and upped the cost, or the not the cost, the core damage, core health to 8, and have removed sapper minions from spawning. Those are the main changes. There are some other changes as well. Payloads now grant XP. First payload and second payload spawn time have been upped, and the mercenaries have been changed a little bit. But Balrog fan, I want to get your thoughts, because I know we were talking before the show, and you were I think happy with some of these changes and not so happy with some of the other changes.
Yeah, I mean, well, Stukov, I would say from everything I've read, don't get used to this current iteration of him, because everybody pretty much who plays this game is saying that he is way overtuned. His ability to heal is very strong for the amount of utility he has in things like silences and slows and stuff. I would imagine the healing comes down, which I don't know.
Like, I played him a little bit on PTR last night, and his trait, when used with the dot on being applied, you can get, I think, max 4 of your teammates to have the dot at the same times and activate the trait, but it does just a ton of healing. It's like 800 or 900 health that it just does instantly. It's incredible how much healing it does.
And I feel like that has to come down, which is, it's one of those things like with Lucio when he came out really strong and then he got tuned down and then he was basically gone for a while, except in like very kind of like high levels of play. You'd occasionally see a Lucio to complement a team that need it, you know, the mobility and the shields and whatnot, but really he fell out of the meta hard. And I think that's partly because Lucio didn't have as much utility. He had a knockback and he has some other things going for him, but for the most part, I think Stukov's healing could get dumpstered and he'd still see quite a bit of play, just simply because that channeled silence is crazy.
What is the cooldown between casts?
The
It's
cooldown
like
between
for the silence.
Yeah.
It's
Like
like
10
12 seconds, 10 seconds
Yeah.
maybe.
It's off cooldown an idiotic amount.
And once I figured out that it's just channeled and you can just sit there and keep it on like Chromie's slow time basically, but oh my
Yeah.
gosh, it's
And then there's
silly.
there's
You're
a
stationary
range.
while you have to.
Yes,
while you
you
do
have
it,
to
right?
be
Yes.
stationary. As
However,
soon as you
there's
move
like a-
or interrupted, it's canceled.
Yeah, however, there's a 50% range increase at like 7 or something like that, and that just gives it an idiotic range.
and keep in mind this doesn't cost mana. This isn't
Channeling-
something
yeah,
that
channeling
eats
does
up your
not-
resources.
Channeling does not cost mana. You cast it and you just wait until everybody's dead or something like
So
that.
if nothing else, he's got wave clear.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
okay. It's
yeah.
decent wave clear, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you just set it on the wave, right? And if you're not an
Yeah.
immediate threat to the enemy team, it'll die eventually.
Yeah.
Costs you no
It'll
mana to
die
finish
fairly
it.
quickly. Like it does, I think, early on, like 20 damage a second, and it ticks really quick.
I mean, let's not undersell the fact that it's an area of effect silence that can be channeled into whatever area you need. Obviously, great on certain maps with a lot of choke points and whatnot. I think even, like I said, even if his healing gets nerfed to the ground, he's going to be a really good pick on Cursed Hollow simply because of those abilities. Probably also on Tomb of the Spider Queen and Sky Temple. He's going to feel like a really good support pick because you usually don't get that much utility out of your support unless you're, Malfurion. And
I'm actually loading into the PTR right now.
Yeah,
just so
I feel like
I can pull up his talents.
I feel like the arm, as fun as it's going to be to set up some kind of WTF plays that I'm sure we'll see, it feels better as a defensive disengage or to, if there's an engagement starting, to remove a hero from the fight for a short period of time. I didn't get a chance to try the other heroic, but the arm is definitely a fun one. So
I feel like it would definitely come in.
Arm is such a low cooldown. It's like a 20-second cooldown.
Yep.
I feel like it's going to be really good in situations where you're trying to pincer gank them or come in from behind on somebody, because if you can push them into your team, it's going to be that much better, right? You know?
Yeah.
Especially for securing kills on a 20-second cooldown when you're rotating into a lane, it can be very helpful from your support again.
That's true.
I mean, you don't even have to you don't even have to shove their healer across the map. You just have to shove them far away enough to keep them from healing right away. And like you've already pretty much won the team fight.
And they get a stun. They get stunned for a little bit.
And
so I feel like you can do some rotation stuff, but leading with support is a little sketchy. I don't know how squishy Stukov is. You'll see it a lot more just in team fights where you're going to throw your dots down and then just take somebody out of the fight.
Well, yeah, and I don't think like you're going to be using it to pincer a big team fight. I'm talking about, collapsing on one or two targets in that situation, because what Jimmy said about it being a disengage, it's like that's fine and it does have that, but if you're going to take it as a disengage, flailing swipe seems like a much better option as a disengage. So you want to try and maximize the usage of massive shove when you're doing things like coming in from behind people with a support. I'm not saying YOLO Stukov by himself or whatever. Maybe you got a false stat with you or something, whatever.
Right. Now he's a melee support. Keep that in mind.
Yes.
However,
But it doesn't have to be melee, right?
Exactly.
That's what's beautiful.
You can switch to Spine Launcher and he does 50% less damage, but his attacks become ranged and they slow enemies by 20% for a second. Now, that said, level 1,
oh my goodness,
he's doing like 147 damage a pop. He attacks really slow. That's still nothing to sneeze at for support damage.
I mean, dealing with a support is hard enough in early game for the first 2 or 3 levels.
Yeah.
You ever try to solo a lane against Lily,
I didn't even know about the talent. I was just saying, he doesn't have any intrinsic reward to go up and melee somebody, except for it kind of hurts. Right? Like Uther has different things where it's built into a kit where he really wants to be melee frontlining and whatever. But just because he has a melee attack doesn't exactly mean that Stukov has to be running at you to be running at the enemy team to be effective.
I think once we get into the thick of the Stukov meta, a lot of people are going to be switching over to the ranged attacks and just kind of foregoing the melee.
Please note that, and keep in mind that during massive shove is going on, he has 50 armor.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the big selling point for me on using it as a utility for rotations and ganks. The fact that he gets that 50% damage reduction while he's doing that, and like I said, you got somebody with you that can provide a little protection or damage, scare somebody away with their damage, all the better. While the rest of your team collapses on whatever target's being shoved.
Yeah, and what makes this sustain really incredible is there's a talent, I forget where it is. It's really early on. It's like 4 or 7 at least. Where if you have the healing ability on your heroes and you use his trait to trigger the large heal, it doesn't deplete the heal. So the dot continues going through that, even though you use the burst healing on it, and that means it can spread even further. And that means you can, in theory, get a full 5-man dot going, which is just insane. So we'll have to see how it plays out. I feel like he will have a fairly high skill cap, and definitely in the upper play levels, he will be very, very strong, especially if he comes out how he is right now.
Yeah, if he comes out like this, I really feel like he's going to be first pick, first ban material. No contest.
Also,
and we didn't get a chance to jump into Hanamura, really, because we went over Stukov there.
Yeah, but Hanamura, I mean, what do we think about these changes? The payload spawn time is increasing a little bit for the first 2, and you get XP for delivering the payload as well.
And I'm fine with those changes. I don't like the sappers going away personally. I think it gave the map an entire different dynamic where you could draft a shove comp and it would be on the other team to recognize that and put a counter draft in place that would kill off the shove and give you a good chance to win big team fights to counter the shove, then go push payloads. I like that dynamic. I don't like that it's going away. I understand why they did it, because the whole point of Hanamura obviously was the payloads and to feel like an Overwatch map. I really think that it's okay if that's what you're trying to do, and I think that's Blizzard's intention here, but I don't feel like it's good to take away an entire dynamic from a draft and from, a gameplay standpoint. So even if there was a little bit of clamoring of people complaining about it, I don't think it's right to just outright change a map so much, especially if you had practiced that strategy or that's how you like to play that map. Yeah. All of a sudden, that's gone.
What I find interesting about this, though, you're talking to Sick Carl, sorry, but this also kind of leads into they're updating the map rotation for ranked, and they're adding in Hanamura and Haunted Mines into the rotation, they're removing, I think, Blackhearts and something else. I'm not sure what exactly they're removing, but Hanamura is getting added to the ranked rotation, so we're all gonna have to play this no matter what mode we're playing. It's gonna be interesting. B-Flame, what are your thoughts on Hanamura?
Yeah, so I think, and I know, this is kind of weird, but there are strategies that are fun and okay from a design perspective, and strategies that aren't. And the Heroes community in general is very unfond of split push, just at all. Anytime a split push hero gets very strong, there's a huge uproar. And I think there's a little bit more uproar than there needs to be. I think split push should be a viable strategy, so there's more than one way to win the game. When, can my team deathball better than your team is the only defining question in the game. I don't know if that's very interesting. So a split push type strategy is fine, but when the best strategy on a map is to completely ignore the map objective and ignore interacting with the other team and just push, That's not fun. That's not.
I want to jump in there because
good for the design.
I feel like you got surprised by that. Like, if you didn't know that was a strategy on the map, yeah, you're gonna get screwed. Like if you get outdrafted right there. But once you recognize that's a possibility, you know what they might be telegraphing. So if their first 2 picks are super safe, you have to assume they might be trying to draft into some kind of push comp at that point. And then you start thinking about things, okay, well, who fights Azmodan best? Who fights Murky best? Who deals with Probius best? Things like that. And you counter that draft to the point where their pushing strategy doesn't matter. And then every time you win a team fight, you just go push a payload. So you're not giving up the objective in that sense. I just think it's one of those things where you had to rely on people drafting intelligently, and people would rather, just say like, oh, it's dumb and broken.
I mean, I know like pros aren't always the best, but you had people like Bakery saying it's just never worth it to actually go for the payload. It's always better to push. And I respect his opinion a lot.
Oh, me too. But I would say only one team gets to do that, right? Like, if you go into that map going, okay, we're drafting counter push. So if they want push, they can try, but they're going to get killed.
I don't know.
I just think those are the type of random dynamics we lose now, which bums me out. I understand where you're coming from, because I know it feels bad to just lose because somebody just never really wanted to team fight you, and they just kept trying to shove a lane the entire time, and it sucks because we've all been there in quick match where you just kind of like roll into a random comp of your own against that.
We even had this like specifically on Hanamura. I remember us playing. I think it was a draft, and we saw that they were doing that. We tried to kind of counter against it, but we just weren't able to do it on Hanamura, and for some reason, I didn't realize that Sapper Minion spawned, which I guess doesn't matter at this point.
Right.
And I was like, oh, it's okay. We don't need to defend bottom. And then we lost the game.
We lost, yeah.
So
the first time I saw that, I was like, that's really cool. That's a whole different way to play the map. Mm-hmm. But yeah, go ahead, Carl.
So there's a Juan Tesk again. I don't know how to say your name in chat. It says it's still a viable strategy. They get way less experience. Viable is questionable, but you still at least get rewarded for pushing, right? There's still, you get an extra shot every time you take a fort or a keep. Mm-hmm. So they didn't take away like, hey, it's good to have a Sylvanas on this map. Like there's more strategy to this map still than just I need to win a fight around a payload. And they still kept that aspect in there, which is fine. It's just that now there's also incentives to take the payload with the experience. There's also saying, okay, you push this lane out and you're done here. You have no more to gain from just shoving it out. So it kind of brings it back into balance, where before I think it really just wasn't a viable strategy if the other team was smart and drafted right to try and pick for a team fight and push the payload. I think you just lost every time. I mean, not every time, but because MOBAs have close to even win rates, but you lost 70% of the time. So now I think there's a better chance it's 50.
I mean, yeah, and you're I guess I never really thought about that dynamic, and when you say it out loud and I start to think about it, you can still draft a push comp and win on that map because of it. So they didn't truly take that dynamic away. You're right about that.
I'm curious
it's overall, just less auto win.
What you guys think of the map being changed and put into the ranked map rotation at the same time?
I don't think it makes sense to change it and not put it in the rotation. Like, you have a large player base who just plays ranked.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta test it once it gets that kind of change on them, because map changes are so rare. Like big map changes like that compared to
tinfoil hat. Isn't that what PTR is for, though?
No, PTR is for bug fixing, and that's it. PTR is not for balancing or anything else.
No, because you can't get reliable information when everybody's trying to pick the same hero and play the same map or whatever, Right.
Yeah. And like.
And
balance is awful.
Picks are,
that's true.
Yeah.
Zex, you've been quiet. What do you think about these changes in Hanamura?
I hate Hanamura in general. Like, my brain goes to sleep. Like, I'm not a fan of the map. I actually don't like the sappers going away. Mainly because it's true. You're still rewarded for split pushing. But that was the point of split pushing, was to get those sapper camps going. So your opponents would constantly be forced to keep that in mind as their lanes were constantly pushing in. If they failed to pay attention, they'd eat core damage, or you just be jerks and just pile 5 bot and just team fight them until sappers slowly made their way in and got the core damage that way.
Mm-hmm.
The camp changes are fine. Those camps felt pretty weak for the most part, except for the
strong.
Huh?
The healing camp was pretty strong.
Yeah, the healing camp was pretty idiotic, if I'm honest.
I like that the turrets are smarter now. That they'll like focus heroes and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of needed, and there was no reason the dragon coin should have dismounted people.
Yeah, that
Like
was
that was
silly.
just dumb. I do want to raise a point though. You're still rewarded for split pushing and stuff like that, but you're only allotted a maximum amount of extra shots, which means the game, in a fastest case scenario, both sides take out each other's stuff. Well, no, maybe I'm not. Never mind.
There's 4 structures available.
There's 4. Yeah, that's why
Meaning
they
you get
have
4 bonus shots. If you turn in 4 times, that's the core.
That is the core. Yeah, you're right. Or if you guys are idiots and you save all your shots and you push everything down, you got 5. So, like, maybe increase the core health by 1, I guess, just so you don't run across.
Well, that's what they did.
No, I mean 1 more to 9,
Yeah.
not 8. Bump it up 1 more to 9. Just so.
I like the idea. I think it was Valorg fan said double the core health and then double the damage on the payloads or something like that.
I did not say that, but that is a good idea.
I mean, they kind of did that,
Said that.
They kind of did
with
that, yeah.
the sapper chain. Removing the sappers, they basically reduced the effectiveness of split push.
Mm-hmm.
So they get 1 core health buff, and the forts and the keeps are still just as valuable as before, but you don't get as much or you don't get any reward, right, for completely clearing a lane past the actual structure kills.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's see.
Yeah, like I said, I hate Hanamura.
Yeah. Well,
It's not a fun map for me yet.
Well, we're gonna get to play more of it in the future. So here we go. The other really big thing from the patch is auto completion of emotes now. I mean, no,
Yeah.
I'm kidding. That's a nice to have. But the Zool kind of rework. Mana cost for his spells being reduced mostly across the board. And Bone Person now, when you use that, all your active skeletons fixate on the target that it's used on. So that creates some super fun opportunities. A lot of talents reworked as well. I know, Zexus, you got to play a little bit of him on PTR. What do you think of these changes? Does this help him out at all? Because he's kind of fallen off the map quite a bit in the past few months.
So, do we remember a while ago we talked about Murky not being really relevant in any way to the game? Like, all of his talents were outdated, especially his pufferfish. And then they did that Murky rework, and we're like, oh, he feels kind of relevant to how the game is played now. This is kind of how I feel Zool is now. Like, he feels relevant to how the game is played. That doesn't necessarily mean he's good. I like how they changed the Bone Prison to make skeletons fixate on targets. That was really good. I like how some of his talents have become quest talents. They've made Shackler a lot more attractive by essentially kind of tying it to an executioner mechanic. So every time like you attack a slow stunned or rooted hero, you reduce the cooldown of bone armor by 2 seconds. That's really nice. They've combined the Tragul talents into 1 and moved it to 7. So now skeleton basic attacks restore 1% health and 0.4% mana, which doesn't sound a lot, but then you multiply that across the 4 or 6 skeletons, depending on if you take Jailer's Hint. You should. It's really good. That's 6% health every time all the skeletons attack, or like 30, I don't know, like 3%. Math is eluding me.
It makes them better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes them a lot better. And then, like, Rapid Harvest is just idiotic. Damage an enemy with Curse Strikes, gains 5% attack speed for 3 seconds, stacks up to 75%.
We're going to need to make one of those videos again.
We are. But, like, that's essentially stim drone speed for 3 seconds on something.
So yeah, if you guys
That's
don't remember,
so dumb.
Zex and I created a video when Zool came out where I played Medic and he played Zool, and we put Stim Drone on him and he just annihilated 4 people. It was fun.
Yeah.
Have to redo that with his talent though.
Yeah, it's gonna be kind of ugly. And they made a lot of changes to his W in terms of talents, like Grim's. Let's see.
I feel
Harvest Vitality got changed. It's 60% of the damage if it deals damage to heroes. And then Rapid Harvest is W build's kind of scary, in my opinion, in terms of like running into a double tank and a potential extra melee assassin, which doesn't happen that often, but it happens from time to time. Like, he could be back into that. I pick him to make somebody waste a cleanse, and to stuff like melee attackers auto attack, like an Illidan or a Greymane or something. Mm-hmm. Like, he may come back into there.
So I feel like someone like Zool, what he does is he can duel people very well and he can split push very well. And I don't think any of this addressed or changed any of that. So I don't think, like, as far as like Zool's pick ability, as far as, being, top tier, he's still pretty low, I think, because when you take a split pusher, you're really looking for mobility and survivability. And Probius and Asmodan do that a lot better. Asmodan's a beefy chunk of a demon who's kind of hard to take down. You can't just, burst him out. He suffers from the same problem that Zool has, which is a lack of escape, no real movement, but he can play so far range that it's less of an issue if you're a talented player. But I don't know. I feel like it's kind of like what Willie was saying. Like, the changes feel good, and they feel like they made him more relevant to what goes on in Heroes these days, but I don't think it makes him any better of a pick, because I just think Probius and Asmodan are better at accomplishing what he does. He's a little better at team fighting now, but not enough to make a big difference. Like I said, they made his dueling better, which is fine early game.
The one thing that will help him is the fact that the zombies fixate on rooted targets. I don't know how big of a change that will be, but anytime you focus it deals damage more, it helps.
But it doesn't make a huge difference in team fights, because those things drop quick. I mean, like, if you're going up against it, like, let's say he is good enough to warrant a counter pick, which I highly doubt, but, you take Kelthus and just throw a Living Bomb anywhere near his vicinity, those things all go, like, right away. So who cares? There's two more and they focus.
You just got Flame excited there, buddy.
Well, yeah, I mean, Flame loves burning people with Kelthus, but I mean, I don't think he's ever once in the entire time since Zool's release gone, I better take Kelthus here, because this Zool's going to be a real problem if I don't.
I know we were talking about before the show that this still doesn't address his mobility problems, and anytime you catch a Zool, you pretty much have a guaranteed kill, because he just doesn't have any escape.
I mean, to be fair, for somebody who duels and split pushes that well, not having an escape is an important weakness to have.
Right. He needs some form of weakness with his kit.
But it makes it hard to run him in team fights.
Won't ask again raises a really good point too, which is something we didn't really think would happen. But when they changed the properties on the way Anubric's beetles worked, he became a lot better. So this could just be the thing Zool needed. You know, they're like those initial Malfurion changes that happened where he just got a little bit and cleanse. Nobody thought it would rocket him from irrelevant to, you know, top tier meta picks.
Yeah.
So anything's possible. I don't think it's enough to make Zool relevant, but we'll see.
I'll hold my breath until I see the pro scene start picking Zool.
Right? Yeah.
Which will be about a month.
Couple weeks, yeah, or a month.
Yeah. Yeah, if in a month Gale Force is prioritizing a Zool pick, I will gladly eat my words.
Will you eat a fruit hat?
I think they'll prioritize Stukov a little bit before Zool.
Well, Stukov will already have been banned. If he goes live like he is right now, Stukov got first ban.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Second ban. First pick team won.
Oh yeah, you're right. Second ban.
Second ban.
Gotta play the mind games. Make sure you get the most out of not banning somebody.
Yeah. But yeah, a bunch of other bug fixes in this patch. Nice to have. Kind of a nerf to Chen here. What do you think of this? Chen fixed an issue preventing the stun duration of a Nurex Burrow charge from being reduced by purifying brew. So, yeah.
That's a buff, isn't it? If I'm reading that right, preventing the stun duration
from being reduced for a Nurex.
He was preventing the stun duration, and now he's not.
Yeah,
I think.
Well, when does that situation ever come up?
I don't know.
When do you look at the other team and go, they have an Nurex, better pick Chen?
When you're Tempo Storm.
When you're me.
That segues into our next segment, though, of the HGC. We're 2 weeks into the newest, the next split, I guess we would say. Summer fall split, and North America looks a little bit different. We have No Tomorrow and Gale Force Esports leading the pack at 3-0 for North America. What do you guys think of this? What does this say about North America in Heroes right now? Powerhour fan.
I mean, I didn't get a chance to watch a lot of what was going on in HGC this week, but I don't know. It feels like it's one of those things where Gale Force is really on top of things right now. I don't know. Yeah, I wasn't ready for that question. I'll be completely
sorry.
Like I have no idea how to answer that because my head wasn't there.
Yeah, it's all good.
I think I'll be looking for No Tomorrow to play Roll20 in Gale Force. A win over Tempo is impressive. Tempo was probably practicing a lot harder for the Gale Force match this weekend. So usually they play a little worse against the other team like that, but I'm not going to take it away from them. It was still a win in a 5-game set. So I think Tempo Storm was a little worse than they're just not doing quite as well, and No Tomorrow looks a lot better. But we really have to see the litmus test of, okay, can you beat Roll20? Can you beat Gale Force? But, you know, from the results, I'm pretty willing to put No Tomorrow as a top 4 team, which is an enormous improvement from last season.
Yeah, and all they did was drop Arrow, add Equinox, and move Casanova to main tank warrior.
Call my boy Equinox the solution! Because he apparently solved all of No Tomorrow's problems. Trees even credited Equinox with basically turning the ship around. They went from Crucible to first place currently in America in NA, and like you watch them, and Tempo didn't play. I don't want to say they played badly. They got outplayed. Like No Tomorrow just looked really good that set.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I really don't have anything else to say about that. They just simply the games they won like pretty convincingly. Because obviously Tempo Storm is still really strong. Like I'm not discounting them from having a 1-2 record currently, and being on the cusp of almost not being able to participate in the Western Brawl, because if they lose next week, they're simply not going. There's no way for them to get in into the Western Brawl, and I believe.
I mean, they're playing Niventic and Superstars. I'd be surprised if Tempo Storm lost those games.
Oh yeah, well I mean, they'll win. Niventic will win one against Tempo Storm.
Yeah.
And then they'll remember their Niventic, and then they'll drop the next 3 in spectacular fashion.
Week 4, Tempo Storm has to play Roll 20, which will be their hardest match the rest of the season. And week 5, their last game of the season is Tempo Team Freedom. Team Freedom's a middle-of-the-pack team. If Tempo Storm really is actually in a slump, that'll be a tough game for them. If they get their back on track, it won't be.
Yeah, and you know, let's see. No Tomorrow plays Gale Force. That'll be their, like you said, that'll be their litmus test. And then they've got a sleeper match with Niventic week 4. And then, you know, their clutch match will be against Roll 20, you know, week 5.
Now, do you think No Tomorrow has to win that match with Gale Force to solidify that they're a different team now, or do you think they just have to prove they can hang?
No, they beat Tempo Storm. That solidifies they're a different team now.
Yeah, that completely agree with Carl.
It's
like
done.
The turnaround, the turnaround is complete. Like the ship has been righted. You know, Equinox is wearing the fancy admiral jacket and the admiral hat.
Yeah.
At this point, smoking a pipe and a parrot on his shoulder. Really what it boils down to is it's like equal. Like I tweeted at him.
Yeah.
Like just joking around. I'm like, I'm dubbing Equinox the solution at this point. And he commented that he enjoyed that. He enjoyed that nickname.
Yeah.
Equinox the solution.
I mean, with NBA nicknames being like the answer and the truth, the solution is pretty good.
I mean, sometimes all it takes for a lower tier team with decent players on it is a strong shot calling, like a strong leadership voice with some shot call experience. He's willing to say, we need to go now. Start the team fight.
In the interview we did with Faye last week, Jimmy and Willie had been asking her, and she basically had said, like, Equinox is this kind of personality that just keeps pushing his team. Go, go, go. We got to get better. We got to try this. We got to do this. So, like, it's very apparent in the way No Tomorrow is played now from the clips that I've seen that they're a much more focused and energized team than they were before, where they were kind of I won't say a joke, but they were kind of an expected, like, you know, easy win against most
they were a
teams.
joke. You can say that. It's okay.
Like,
No,
B Genius is a joke. They were never like a joke like B Genius was. B Genius was like,
that's fair. Okay, putting it into that kind of context, yeah, B Genius was a joke that everybody but B Genius got. It's like Wimplo from Kung Pao, Enter the Fist.
I mean, and they started to come on a little bit near the end, but the fact that they got bopped out in the Crucible, it kind of proves that they didn't really look like a team that belonged there. And No Tomorrow survived, so
yeah.
Say what you want about how No Tomorrow was playing before the Equinox pickup. They survived the Crucible, and they got a chance to be in a position where they could get someone like Equinox on their team.
I need to take a minute, and I need to apologize. I was clearly wrong. Even in Death won a game.
They won one game, and they looked pretty good in that series. But they don't look like a team that's ready to break out of that Crucible.
Okay,
They also
wait,
won
okay.
Superstars, I think, or won a game against Superstars.
Okay,
Yeah.
so either when do they play Niventic, or I think it's going to be at least 4 or 5
God,
more
that's going to be
weeks
such a
before they
toddler-
get a win.
It's going to be such a toddler fight pit. Like, I don't even know who to yell at.
I don't know that they'll win a series, but they definitely.
I think they will.
They definitely already look
Like,
better.
I'm so torn. Like, if we start doing our picks again, who do I pick in that game?
It's the second to last game of the season. Niventic versus Even in Death.
I have this
Oh
strategy
my
of just
goodness.
lock any pick against Niventic. Doesn't matter who they're gonna play. Just lock it against them. You know, pick the other team. Easy. And it worked. Easy 5 point, or easy 5 points the whole, or 3 points the whole time we'd been doing it.
Yeah.
But I like it. This is just like said. It's a toddler fight pit. It's like which one's going to tip over first.
So I want to address something too. Somebody in chat brought up a little bit earlier about the changes to the China region for HGC. Yeah. I mean, look, this is different, and it might not be easy for viewership, but it sounds like these changes are being made to accommodate the actual player base who is putting on the show for us, so I'm all for that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to me, that sounds like something that needs to happen to make it... Like, if they come out, if this makes China a better scene, they should absolutely do this.
Yeah, for those who haven't seen the news yet, they're reducing their HGC schedule to 5 weeks instead of 7, and they're playing 3 days a week, Monday through Wednesday instead of 2, playing 4 matches a day. It's double round robin as well, so teams play each other twice instead of just once. But each match is a 2-game set, so you get a point for a 1-1 finish, 3 points for a 2-0. Points-based standings, and then the top 3 teams will attend the Eastern Clash after 5 weeks. But yeah, like Balrog Fan said, if this is to accommodate the players, who that's your product, it's going to be good, I think, for the scene. And Kendrick Swish is still providing the English stream of that if you do want to check that out. So I know the time's pretty rough for those. Let's see, 2 a.m. It starts, and then the last series starts at 5:45 Pacific a.m., so 8:45 Eastern time. Maybe some people can catch that, at least the last 2 series or something like that. But yeah,
people who work the night shift need love too.
That's true. That is
Afternoon
true.
and night
I like
shift,
the point system. I honestly prefer a full like best of 3 or best of 5 where you have a definitive winner. But just having the points at all, where you get rewarded more for a 2-0 versus a 1-1 and so forth, it's just really good to say, hey, this team is smashing all of the games that they win, and this team is winning, but it's kind of rough and they're dropping games here and there, and be able to differentiate between the two.
Well, a few weeks ago when we interviewed Bad Benny, he pointed out they would have placed higher if that kind of system was in place.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, didn't I talk about this kind of exact system with Bad Benny in our interview with him? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And if this works better for the region, it's great. If this gives the region an unfair advantage somehow, which I can't really see. It's just a different scoring. So, like, at the end of the day, only 2 teams come over from China to the Brawl, so does it change the way they play the game at all and give them an advantage?
It rewards more consistent play, I feel like, than
the
other system.
So the one disadvantage from this for the Chinese players is that every game counts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I know some teams, if you're you're Gale Force, you're playing Navendic.
Yeah.
Game 1, you're pretty willing to try out something that may not be super tested. You want to try it out in a semi-impactful match that's not a scrim, because scrims are probably less information than playing Naventic. And you say, all right, we're going to try this. We're going to try out this comp. We think that Tassadar Stitches is the best thing in the world, or could be the next best thing. Let's try it. And if it doesn't work, you've got another 2 games to make it up and still win the series, and it doesn't matter if you can still win 2-1. If you're confident that you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
But in this kind of setting, especially if it says it's just 2 games, you don't have as much freedom to do that. And I don't know exactly how valuable something like that is for a team, because that is what scrims are for. Even though scrims aren't taken as seriously usually.
Yeah.
But I definitely think it's one of those things where it's better for the viewership, but it's got to be very taxing on the players. I'm surprised that this is something they want, because like you said, Carl, you can't, if you're the superior team, you have no time to take off. If you just outright know, if you're a team like Tempo Storm or Dig or Fnatic, where you're probably going to be there at the end of the season, it's hard to really say, I'm okay with having to play very hard every game.
Yeah.
But
Transition,
it does
though,
make for the viewer. It's great.
Yeah, transitioning though to the world leaders of Heroes Esports EU, they've had some really interesting matches, and there definitely is a lot more parity in EU versus NA, as both or all the teams have at least one series win, including the two brand new teams, Zealots and Team Good Guys, who came from HEC Open in Europe. But Fnatic is continuing their dominance throughout Heroes after fresh off that win at Mid-Season Brawl. They are 3-0 currently, securing that top spot all by themselves. Team Liquid and Team Expert are 2-1 behind them. And what is happening to Dig? They lost to Expert. Is this cause for concern, or is this just a hiccup in the road?
I don't think it's cause for concern. I just think it's Expert finally realizing their potential. From what I saw of that match, Expert looks solid. Like they've always been a very good team. They just were kind of behind the curve when it came to what Dig and Fnatic were already bringing to the table before Expert was even a thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I mean, Expert's comprised of some really good players, and obviously we really like Bad Benny here because, you know, he came on the show. He's a great guy. He's fun to watch. He's probably a top 5 tank player in the world. So, I mean, like watching that team finally realize some of its potential and actually get a big name win like this, it's important, and I'm glad it happened. I don't think it's cause for concern other than the fact that, you know, there's more competition there, but better competition breeds better play. So, I mean, they should look at it like it's a challenge and something they need to overcome rather than something that, you know, hurts the morale of the team.
Yeah, it is. There's a long time till BlizzCon. They've got a long time till games that matter. So I'd much rather have Dig and Toss hit a little slump now than be dropping games before they're about to head into playoffs or whatever.
Yeah. Can Fnatic be stopped, though? They kind of just have continued the dominance over the past 2 months, I want to say, at least. Ever since we came from the Western Clash, they have really not dropped a beat. And obviously, being the mid-season brawl winners, are the best team in the world right now.
Yeah. That's all you can say about them. They're the best team in the world. Like,
yeah.
What do you do? Like, you've got to find a way to overcome that, but it's not easy. Mm-hmm. They're the best.
Yeah, around.
Yeah, I it's one of those things where, like, you watch, like, okay, let's liken esports to regular sports again. Like, you watch someone like a Michael Jordan or LeBron James, and you just go, like, it's unfair. Why is that guy so good? Why does he get to do whatever he wants to while everybody struggles so hard? Well, that's what we're seeing in HGC right now. Like, this team has really ascended to the point where like beating them is the measuring stick for everything. Like, if you can beat them in a game, you can argue that you're one of the better teams in that region or whatever in that tournament. So they're just a measuring stick now. Like, there's nothing you can do.
I just want to go back real quick. Dethan in chat pointed out that Dignitas is trying out a new shot caller. I don't know who that is. I don't have a verified source, but I trust our chat. So that would kind of explain their dropped games to Liquid and to Expert. But like I said, trying something out new at the start of a season, they've got time to learn with it and get in good shape for playoffs. So that'll be good.
Yeah, if it's going to help them in the long run, it's a good thing to do right now for sure.
Yeah, for sure. One last thought, I guess. Do you think Malf getting nerfed kind of hurts Bakery's role? I know he's flexible, but definitely that Malf is kind of giving him the success going forward.
I mean, I think there's going to be a latency where Stukov isn't there yet. Mm-hmm. I think once Stukov enters, I think he almost does what Malfurion offers, but better. So I think Bakery will pick up on that very quickly. And if they allow Bakery a Stukov pick, or whatever team's facing them is going to really regret it.
Yeah. Zexers, any thoughts on EU before we close out the show?
Fnatic's not really going to be able to be stopped. They're going to just roll through the Western Clash. Like, I don't see anybody beating them at this point. They'll get stuffed at BlizzCon, but right now they're they're riding an awful lot of momentum, and it's gonna take effort that nobody in NA or EU is gonna be really able to put out at this point.
Yeah, most definitely. But any closing thoughts for this week? Balrog fan, where can people find you? What are you up to these days?
You can find me at my Twitter, BalrogFanBP, right down there. If you want to see my random nonsense. I've been streaming infrequently lately, playing a lot of Friday the 13th. I don't know. Just follow me on Twitter. If I stream, I'll be streaming for a few days in a row and then move away from it horribly because I'm really inconsistent about everything in my life.
PFlameG, how about you?
You can follow me on Twitter. I don't tweet anything interesting. But that's about it.
Dexterous, how about you? How's your channel going?
You can find me at on Twitter at the name below. I think I've got my finger on it right. I don't know.
You're good.
I do? Sweet. You can find me on Twitch at Zexorus Heroes. Oddly enough, I almost never stream Heroes. I'm either streaming my Fantasy Star Force speed runs or me doing some Final Fantasy 14.
Number 3 in the world.
Yeah, still number 3 in the world. There's a guy who hasn't submitted a run yet. He doesn't have any video evidence, but apparently he's beaten my 3rd place time. Still 0% world record holder somehow. Once Agi wakes up and submits his
I mean, you mapped that early game really well, though. You mapped that early game really well. Anybody who's into speedrunning, especially since Summer Games Done Quick's going on, definitely checks out Zexorus' channel when he's playing Phantasy Star 4. It is something to behold.
It's pretty interesting.
Like, if you like RPGs or old school games or anything like that, definitely check out his channel because he is one of the best at Phantasy Star 4. There's no question to it.
Well, I'm one of the best at not getting screwed over by the RNG in that.
Well, that's speedrunning.
Which I'm not even that... to be perfectly honest, I'm not even that good at that.
You have the third... You're the number 3 person in the world, so, like...
I do have a sub button now, if you've seen it. By Grizz.
There you go.
It's the running joke, Zexero by Grizz.
If you're in our chat, you'll see that. It's pretty cool. Go ahead and subscribe to Zexorus if you want to send him some money or got
Give me your bits.
There you go. Send me your bits. As for myself, you can follow me at DJ Shadow on Twitter and Twitch. Make sure to check out heroesofthestorm.blizpro.com for all the latest news in Heroes of the Storm. If you are listening to us on the podcast through iTunes, make sure to give us a review. 5-star reviews really help out the show and up the visibility of the show to new listeners. You can also check out archives besides just the audio version, the video versions on youtube.com/blizpro, where we have our other shows as well. West March Workshop for Diablo 3, Payload Podcast for Overwatch, Well Met for Hearthstone, and Arcane Analysis for World of Warcraft, all on blizpro.com. Make sure to check out the Discord, discord.blizpro.com as well, for all your Blizzard game chat needs throughout the week. I know a lot of groups are coordinated through that as well, so if you're interested in playing, that's a good place to go as well. That is going to be it for episode 108 of the Heroes Power. We thank you guys for checking out the show, and thank you, Blizzard, for putting us on the launcher once again. And happy July 4th, everyone watching live. Hope you have a great rest of your night, and we will see you next week with episode 109 of the Heroes Power. Stay tight.